When it grew late, his disciples approached him and said, "The place is desert, and it is already late. Send them away so that they can go into the surrounding countryside and villages to buy themselves something to eat." The key verse, "You give them something to eat," he responded. They said to him, "Should we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give them something to eat?" He asked them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." When they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. Then he instructed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. He took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. Looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke the loaves. He kept giving them to his disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. Everyone ate and was satisfied. They picked up 12 baskets full of pieces of bread and fish. Now those who had eaten the loaves were 5,000 men. Mark, the 6th chapter, the 35th through the 44th verses. Verse 37, the key verse. Lunch is on me.
All right.
Lunch is on me. And they departed, according to the backstory of the Gospel of St. Luke, the 9th chapter and the 6th verse, the ministry that happened that led up to our topic's event. It says, "And they departed and went through the towns, preaching the gospel and healing everywhere." The disciples had just completed a powerful ministry assignment lately. They preached good news, they healed the sick, and they were effective. Now, from that backstory, we transition into Mark, the 6th chapter, the 30th through the 44th verses, which shows what happened after that success. It says that Jesus recognized something important. Ministry had been fruitful, but also draining. Listen, ministry had been fruitful, but also draining. This is taken from Mark 6 and 31. They had no time to rest or even eat, Christ's disciples. So Jesus said, "Come apart and rest a while." This introduces the setting for what we call the lunch site, saints. Now, Jesus invites them away to a quiet place. This is found in Mark, the 6th chapter, the 32nd verses. A desert place. And they traveled by boat. They took a cruise. This shows that rest is not optional, according to even Jesus Christ's ministry. This shows that rest is not optional. It is necessary. Rest is necessary to sustain ministry. Now, in St. Mark 6:33 class, the people see them. Even though they were in a boat, the people were on land, but they saw them and followed them. And according to Mark 6:33, the crowd actually arrived on the other side before them. Now, Mark 6:34, you read the lesson. It says, when Jesus steps out, he sees this great multitude. And when he saw them, he was not moved with pride. He was not moved with a dogmatic spirit. He was not moved with trying to abuse nor use. But the book said that he was overwhelmed with compassion. Why? I'm glad you asked. It says, they were as sheep not having a shepherd. He saw them as sheep without a caretaker. He saw them defenseless. He saw them unprotected. So, instead of sending them away immediately, he begins, Christ, the great I am, he begins to feed them spiritually first. He begins to feed them the Word of God. Now, according to Mark 6, chapter 35th through the 36th, a problem was manifest. In the midst of his ministry, a problem came about. Verse 33 said, it becomes late. In the midst of him feeding, teaching the people of God, the time got away from him. And it was late. And the next problem was that in the midst of this lateness, the people were hungry. The Lord began to hear some growling stomachs out there. The people were hungry. Now, he was not the only one that noticed the problem. Verse 36 says that the disciples saw it. The 12, and said, Lord, it done got late in the evening. The people are hungry. Send them away. Let them go about their own destination to accomplish that. They go to the chicken house, let them go somewhere and satisfy their physical hunger. Let them go to the nearby villages to buy food. The people have been, you done your part, God, the great I am. You done your part. The people have been fed spiritually, but now they need physical nourishment. Now, in that same verse 36, the problem is solved. I will be, sought an opportunity. Class, keep this in your mind. I will be, sought an opportunity to provide completely, because lunch is not only on me, but lunch is from me. And it begins to unfold this great revelation that lunch is from me. Jesus does not just meet spiritual needs, but keep this in your mind. This caretaker is concerned about your physical anatomy and your physical satisfaction of appetite. He is a well-rounded I am. Now, in Mark, the 6th chapter, the 30th through the 44th verse, is where the moment shifts from need to provision. Mark 6:30 class and 44th is where it shifts from what was required to supply. Now, the disciples suggested sending the crowd away. But Jesus responds in verse 37, you give them something to eat. Then the disciples said, in verse 37 also, shall we spend a year's wages to feed them? Which is about 2,000 denarius. In Jewish currency, 2,000 denarius. Class, which is about $20,000 a year's salary. So the I am, keep that in your mind, I am, redirects them because they're overwhelmed with the number of people and the costs that it would take to feed them physically. So the Lord let them know from this word in verse 38, what you need is already in your midst. The answer to your problem is near. He said, how many loaves do you have? Go and see. They returned with 5 loaves and 2 fish. Now, class, I want you to know, they returned with 5 loaves, which were about, they was round, and they were about the size of a man's hand. It wasn't that Wonder Bread loaf. They was round, and they was about the size of a man's hand. And then the 2 fish were tilapia. They were what the Jewish people called the St. Peter fish. And they are small, common fish. But listen to this truth. Not enough in human terms. What they found, what they brought to the table was not enough in human terms, but more than enough in the hand of I am. More than enough. Keep this in your mind, class. In the hand of I am. Now, Mark the 6th chapter, I'm getting ready to come down to the close, class. Mark the 6th chapter, the 39th through the 40th verse teaches order, structure before overflow. Order, structure before serving. Jesus organizes the people. Keep this in your mind, class. Organization is not an enemy to salvation. Organization is not an enemy to salvation. Jesus organized the people. He put them on the green grass, and in verse 44, he arranged the large group in ranks. And the group was, not counting the women and the children, they numbered them about 5,000 men. You can find that in Mark 6:44. This shows structure. Listen to this. Organization prepares the way for miracle. Discipline, ranks, doing things decent and in order prepares the way for miracles. Now, Mark 6:41 through 43, the self-existent one, I am, I will be. The self-existent one, Mark 41 says, looks up to heaven, gives thanks. But keep this, he's keeping everybody's eyes off him. Because when he do what he do, he's not doing it for show. He's doing it for edification. He's not doing it for population. He's meeting the need of his sheep. But he's also trying to train his under-shepherds. He wasn't doing this for show. So he looks up to heaven. He gives thanks. He keeps people's eyes off of him. But in the 41st verse it says, and he breaks the loaves. And he breaks the loaves. Only 5 little circle things. about the size of a man's hand. And listen to what it says. And he gives to the disciples. Do you hear what I'm trying to tell you? And he gives to the disciples. Verse 41 is where we get the key. Lunch is from me, not just on me. I'm not just paying for the lunch. I am the lunch. Lunch is coming out of me. Verse 41 really reads, he took the loaves, 5 of them, and fish, 2 of them, and broke, and, listen to this, kept on giving. There was no grocery store. Listen to this. There was no 12 baskets already there, and he's taking the loaves out of the basket. No, there was only 5 loaves about the size of a man's hand in his hand, and 2 fish that were called St. Peter fish, small fish, but every time he broke, he gave. Every time he broke, he gave. Every time he broke, he gave. Bread kept coming, fish kept coming, I am kept providing. Then the disciples gave to the people. So they came back to him to get the substance, to get the dinner, and then they went and gave to the people. Now remember what verse 44 said, class. There was over 5,000 hungry men. 5,000 well-appetited men, not counting the hungry women and not counting the greedy waste for children. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. And every time he broke, bread came. Not only bread, but meat came. He was doing greater than his father. For in Exodus, he fed the manna from heaven and quail from the sky. But the manna filled the field, and the quails filled the sky. But here in this here green grass picnic, God just kept breaking it of himself. Lunch is from me. And it had to be already seasoned. There was not cannibals. There was not eating bread that had not been baked. And there was not eating fish that had not been cooked. How God did it, I don't know. But Paul said he can do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we can ask or think. And now Paul said according to the power that worketh in us. But I say according to the power that was working through him. And verse 42 says, and everyone was satisfied. No one turned it down. No one was criticizing. They ate and they were satisfied. Now this is when the baskets come in. Then it says in 43, and it wanted you to notice that they wasn't there when he started. But because of how he solved the problem, not only did he feed 5,000, not counting men and women, but he had leftovers. Hallelujah. And he had 12 baskets leftovers. The key to this truth, class, what starts small in your hands becomes abundant in I am who I am hand. I got to say that again. What starts small in your hands becomes abundant in the hands of I am who I am. Now we transition from lunch to lordship. Verses 6 through chapter 6 through 45. Yes. It says, and he dismissed the crowd. Now as he dismissed the crowd, I will be is walking on water. Mark 6, 47 through 52. 47 says, he was walking on water at night. And then it says in verse 48, the disciples are in the middle of the sea, and they are again in trouble. And then it says in verse 49, this was all happening around 3 o'clock a.m. in the morning. They see I am come walking on the water. They panic, thinking they saw a ghost. Then I am speaks. Somebody say I am. I am speaks. Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. You'll find that in Mark 6:50. Then in Mark 6:51, I am enters the boat. And then when I am enters the boat, the wind stops. The sea calms down. And verse 52, it says, they did not consider the miracle of the loaves, for their hearts were hardened. Can I bring it home? They did not consider the miracle of the loaves, for they did not understand. They did not understand that they were experiencing provision. They failed to understand who the provider is. Listen, they failed to understand who the provider is. As I come to the close of this lesson, if you only celebrate what God does, but do not understand who I am is, if you only celebrate what God does, but do not understand, but do not comprehend who I am is, you will panic in the next storm. I am means continuing to be. I am means constantly active. I am means always present. I am means unfolding over time. I am who I am. Listen, this lesson, Mark the 6th chapter, 35th through the 44th verses, reveals the source of all provision and salvation, who is Emmanuel, who is the Prince of Peace, who is the mighty God, who is the everlasting one, the mighty counselor. And we can take words from his Father and place it on his Son, who is I am. My question to you, who is Jesus Christ to you? Who is Jesus Christ to you? A prophet, a teacher, a counselor, or I am? Give me the answer. Now we move into Mark the 7th chapter, the 1st through the 23rd verses class for our next lesson, which Mark 7:15 is the key. There is nothing from a man's hands that entering into him can defile him. There is nothing from a man's hands that entering into him can pollute his behavior. But the things which come out of him, these are the things which makes a man unclean. But the things which come out of him, out of his conscience, these are the things which makes a man unclean. Key verse, Mark 7:15. Studying from Mark 7th chapter, the 1st through the 23rd verses, with our topic, wash your conscience, not only your hands. May God bless you. May God keep your victory.